Marsen's domain.
Hey everyone, and welcome to my new series called Marsen's Obsessions, where we take a look at different things that I'm obsessed with. This could either be about video games, music, characters from games, or just really about anything. I'm going to keep this series video game focused for a while, but I do plan to branch out at some point with this series. For today's episode, we are going to be looking at my obsession with King K. Rool. Now, for those of you who don't know, I have a huge obsession for King K. Rool, and he is easily one of my favorite video game characters of all time. This all started when I was about 2 years old when my sister got a Super Nintendo as a gift. I can't remember if it was for Christmas or for her birthday, but either way, the Super Nintendo was for her. It was the Super Nintendo that came bundled with Donkey Kong Country, and that one thing ended up shaping and changing my life forever. When I was 2, I used to just watch everyone else play, and just kinda soaked everything in. Everyone would always ask if I wanted to play, and I would always say, nope, I want to watch. It didn't take long, however, for me to start playing the game myself, although I wasn't too confident in my play. I would always say, I can't get past the eagle, or please do the eagle part, which to anyone who has played Donkey Kong Country knows that this eagle is clearly a vulture, but everyone thought it was cute that I would say that, so they never corrected me. However, I never realized this until my 20s when I finally really looked at the enemy and thought to myself, that's not an eagle, that's a vulture. So that's nice and embarrassing. As I played more and more, I started to get really good to where I was doing better than everyone else around me. Besides going outside to play with my friends, this game became my life. When you're 2 years old, you don't have any responsibilities, so it became really easy for me to get wrapped up in this game. Think about being that age and not having access to the internet or any other means of learning about new things. I wasn't in school or daycare, and I only knew my neighbors and my family. There was nothing else to influence what I liked or what I got into. So for me, this game was everything. If this Super Nintendo was bundled with any other game, I probably wouldn't even be making this video right now as we speak. So with the setting and tone in place, let's talk about the big badass himself, which is King K. Rool. As a kid, I had no idea why these two monkeys were trying to stop this big reptilian monster, but I didn't care. This is something that I even still have today, where I don't care too much about story, I care more about gameplay, and I think this game is where I developed that. All I knew was when I heard that iconic boss fight music that this was it. This was as serious as it gets, and this fight means everything. Again, remember, I was 2 or 3 at the time. So with me being this wrapped up in the only video game I knew, and only knowing a few movies and TV shows which were just made for kids, this led this to be the coolest thing for me. Here's this big, muscular, yet also fat reptile with gold-plated armor, a cape, and a crown. I couldn't think of anything more badass than that. The most notable thing about his appearance for me has to be his bloodshot eye. I remember whenever I was sick when I was younger and I was coughing a lot, I would always look in the mirror and see that my eye was bloodshot. Every single time this happened, I thought of King K. Rool. That's when you know you're obsessed with the character. The character design in these Donkey Kong Country games are some of the best I have ever seen. Rare really did have something special with this series. So with the combination of the music, the stage, and this badass creature, it is very clear how I started to become obsessed with this beast. Not only that, but he would then star in the games to follow this one, being Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country 3, and Donkey Kong 64. I don't have the best memories of Donkey Kong 64, but the Donkey Kong Country games were a huge part of my life growing up. Again, me being so young, I never knew when a new one was supposed to come out. My mom would just randomly bring me to a store, and if she noticed a new one had come out, she would just buy it. I have told her about her doing that really ended up changing my life, and she doesn't really think it's that big of a deal, but to me it always will be. Had she not cared about any of this stuff, or noticed how much I liked it, or hell, even picked that Super Nintendo with Donkey Kong Country to begin with, I may have never attempted to be a YouTuber in the first place. Every boss fight with King K. Rool was always very different. Even King K. Rool himself never looked the same in any of the games he was in. These games always kept him fresh, and as a kid, it was always a fun surprise to see how he would be in the next game. Without the internet to spoil these boss fights, I never knew what to expect. David Wise being the main composer for all of this had a huge impact too. There probably has never been a day where I haven't hummed one of his tunes, and nothing gets me more amped up for something than hearing the original King K. Rool theme. The way the guitar plays always just brings me back to when I was a kid. A fun, simple time where the only thing that mattered was that I kicked this green reptilian's ass. My obsession with King K. Rool has never gone away, but it has been halted by the lack of support he has gotten in recent times. There was a lot of copyright issues with him since Rare moved to Microsoft, but I have faith that he will come back in full force someday. He has been in a few games here and there as a playable character, such as Super Mario Sluggers for Wii, but he hasn't appeared in either of the new Donkey Kong Country games. Even though I was mad about Super Smash Bros. For Wii U adding King K. Rool as a costume instead of a playable character, I think regardless, it's actually a good sign for the future. Yes, I would have rather have had him be a playable character, but this is still a good start. It makes it clear that the developers still know that people like this big green reptile, and it also must mean that the copyright issues are going away, because why would they have even bothered in the first place to add him at all? I also know that he had to have gotten very high on the Smash Bros. Ballot, where you could vote for a character to be added to the game. Every single fan-made poll had him very high, if not at the top. I understand that this isn't a complete, accurate representation, but I'm sure he was very high in the official ballot. I think that he has a good shot at coming to a future Smash Bros. Game, and if he does, my obsession for him and the Smash Bros. Series will grow even bigger than it already is. For me, King K. Rool not only represents a badass video game character, but he represents a big part of my childhood, and it's something I will always cherish. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Marsen's Obsessions. Let me know in the comment section below how you felt about this video, and if you want to see more of this series in the future. Until next time, I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.